My name is Clay Dover. I'm the CEO, president, and taco maker for Velvet Taco, a Texas-based concept here based in Dallas. We have 34 company-owned restaurants in 6 states and a bunch of cities. We started here in Dallas about 10 years ago, and yeah, that's what I do. I make tacos. That's what we do.
Fair enough.
Clay and Jeff and I have known each other for years, and Joe as well, so we always have a lot of fun getting together.
There's a level of familiarity that may exist, yes.
The comedy effect that you get when we're all up on stage, it comes free right along with the package.
I am here to be serious and answer your questions and give you the reason why you came, just so you know, okay?
Which is why what you witnessed earlier did not happen. It was only your imagination that sign suddenly went missing.
No.
Karen?
I'm also in fast casual right now. I'm the CEO of a company called Native Foods. We're actually based in Chicago. I just listened to the governor and was, I have to say, a bit envious that your restaurants were open throughout the entire pandemic. Through the end of February in Chicago, you still had to show a vaccination card to get in a restaurant. It has been absolutely brutal for the urban brands in Chicago, as Jeff can identify with. I've really worked in the restaurant industry for a long time, starting out in quick service, then in casual dining, a lot of the big chains, Wendy's, Applebee's, Chili's, Red Robin, and then the fast casual experience, McAllister's Deli, and obviously now Native Food. So a lot of fun. I followed the growth, and that's what I love about fast casual. Definitely still part of the growth segment of the industry.
Okay.
And Jeff.
Thank you. So my name is Jeff Alexander. I plan to drink this entire bottle of water while I'm up here, and hopefully I turn into Carrie Underwood or something, the male equivalent, because I saw her drinking it on the videos there, and she's much better looking than me. I run a concept called Wow Bao. It is a 3-unit brick and mortar concept in Chicago. We're a 19-year-old brand. We also are involved in airports, sports stadiums, college campuses, and music venues. And just before the pandemic hit, we thought that other restaurants could sell our product out their back door via third-party delivery. And from April 2020 through today, we've launched over 600 locations across the United States and Canada with restaurants, small business operators, and enterprise accounts selling our food out their back door on the third-party platform as a ghost kitchen virtual restaurant.
And while this marks my 3rd anniversary being with the Texas Restaurant Association, prior to that, I had a brief blip in my career working in international higher ed, but my family owned the 2nd oldest Italian restaurant in Chicago for 55 years. So I was literally born into this industry. And poor Clay has to sit up here flanked by 3 Chicagoans for this entire segment. But fast casual, as one major segment of our industry, had very different experiences depending upon your business model, where you were located, the regulations that you were required to follow during the pandemic, as Karen just alluded to. Obviously in Texas, we were open first. We had probably the least strict regulations, but still regulations that kept people safe. And so as we walked and tracked through the pandemic, fast casual actually did quite well. So part of today's discussion is, why did it work so well? What were the things that they already had built into their infrastructure that made that happen? And then what's going to happen next? Are certain things going to be, new best practices that don't go away, and where we go from there? I'll do the shameless plug since Jeff already talked about the 600 plus locations he's had, and made me feel younger because I used to go to that place in college, and I went to college longer than 19 years ago. There's a ghost kitchen session that will be happening over at the Closer Look stage later on today. You may want to pop by and check out. So first question for the entire panel is, what went really well for you during the pandemic? What was it that, because of the sector you're in, made it a little easier to kind of endure the challenges? And conversely, what was something that you kind of weren't expecting, and how you handled it? I don't know if there's a particular one of you that would like to go first, or should we just make the lone Texan start?
The lone Texan.
And for some of us in other states, it is still incredibly difficult. What we did really well, and I mentioned in my introduction, is that we started partnering with other restaurants. We had this idea in fall of 2019 that we could help. Are you giving me all that feedback? Is that you? that we could help other restaurants grow top line sales and increase their bottom line profits. We thought about the mom and pop coffee shop that only had 2 day parts. And we thought about the room service inside a hotel where there's an entire staff, but nobody's actually in the hotel ordering room service. And in Chicago, we thought about the ice cream store that 4 months out of the year is too cold for anyone to eat ice cream. And by giving them or selling them our product, they could get a whole new revenue stream. And we launched this pre-COVID, and as I said, once COVID hit, this became hockey stick growth for us. And what I'm most proud of is pre-pandemic, our corporate office was about 11 employees, and we're in about 26 now. So we were able to grow our team remotely, really, because nobody was in office in Chicago, and come together and help operators across the country who needed ways to grow their business. And what I think was the best outcome of the pandemic, and what I say a lot is the restaurant hospitality industry, we get hit the hardest no matter what happens. Any crisis that comes, we get murdered. But we always come out of it better than prior to that catastrophe. And what happened here with the pandemic is we bonded together. Prior to the pandemic, I shouldn't say you in particular, but the industry was very siloed. You really kept to yourself your secret sauce and what made you you and so on. And I think everyone sort of opened their doors to another operator and said, how can I help you? Here's what's working. Are you trying this? And it's been very exciting to see how we've been able to contribute to that, as well as see how other operators have really come together. And I'm very excited for the coming years as that continues to evolve.
Yeah. Yeah,
Clay, I think Karen should go next.
I'll hop in here. Obviously I'm the oldest by far of anybody up here. And so I remember when fast casual was emerging. And, I'd worked in QSR, I worked at McDonald's through high school, Wendy's through college, and about the first 18 years at Wendy's, obviously. And then I went into casual dining. And as we're all watching this fast casual segment emerge, my thoughts were like, seriously, people are going to get out of their car and go to the counter and order? It was such a different phenomenon, I think, because we had watched the drive-through grow from about, 30% to over 70% of our business, at Wendy's at the time. And so we either figured, okay, so, what is it that's so exciting about fast casual? Number one, I think, I think fast casual made everyone get better because it really started focusing on quality of ingredients. When you started hearing more about, local or organic or just better for you type of food. So I think that was interesting. And I think this segment of the industry raised the bar for the entire industry, for whatever reason. Sitting in the QSR side of it, it's like, okay, how many times did we screw up in the drive-through that people are willing just to go in and order anyway? Did we create that, as a business as well? But the pandemic, they always say, don't let a good crisis go to waste. I'm sure we've all heard that gazillion times. But I do think that it really kind of got us all moving in really a faster speed than we had anticipated. I work for a very small company now. We have about 12 units. So the beauty of it is we could change on a dime. We could make changes overnight. We had a new menu printed. We did the same thing, streamlined the menu. Number one, we couldn't get the products in, but just a lot of the challenges we were able to turn around, things relatively quickly. But overall, I think from a technology standpoint, all of those different standpoints, if we had planned to do it 2 years from now, we got it done in 2020. So that sense of urgency made a big difference.
Totally fair. Clay?
So what I wasn't anticipating was the governor letting us sell margaritas to go, so that was a nice surprise.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, by the way, Texas Restaurant Association. Look, here's what I would tell you, is it's about culture for us. For Velvet Taco, I can tell you about it, we put it in the POS system, we started asking guests to tip our team members. We doubled in size during the pandemic. And it really is on the hard work of those people who are in the restaurants every day. So I would tell you that the culture that we established early on really helped sustain us. At a point, there were only 6 of us in our office running the entire company. And to be able to ask someone to go above and beyond and ask the restaurant managers to go in and run shifts. I mean, there were a time when they were running, hot stations and expos, etc. That's just not something that happens overnight. You have to actually nurture that, and that happens before a pandemic or before an emergency. And that's probably the thing that I felt good about during the pandemic was, we didn't close any restaurants. We didn't have to let anybody go. And there are a variety of things that we were able to do during the pandemic that help us not just stay aligned, but also accelerate during that time frame.
So it's actually interesting what Clay brings up here, because obviously all restaurants, regardless of what sector they're in, are impacted by the things that are still going on. Things like inflation, things like supply chain challenges, and labor. So the next question is, with all the challenges we have right now, and again, geography really does make a difference, but I want to start with Jeff, because your model really leverages other people's labor as you've expanded so broadly. So have you run into challenges where, because the places where you have inserted the virtual kitchen that's sending out third-party delivery WowBow has their own labor shortage challenges, how is it impacting your business in those additional units across the country?
Yeah, it was interesting to hear the governor speak before this and about the 1.3 million jobs that have been filled, or how, I'm going to screw up his quote, so don't hold me to it. I'm sure you'll find the transcript, but he was very positive about what he said here in Texas through the pandemic and for jobs. The rest of the country that I've seen is not like that. Chicago especially, people don't want to come back to work. Everyone wants to work remote. They want to be out of the restaurant industry. And to your question, we were supposed to open, I think we were supposed to open 80 or 90 locations a month, January, February, March, and April. And maybe half of that actually got opened because all of our operating partners said to us, we can't open at this moment, we can't even staff our own restaurant. Now, what I say to a lot of people is, depending on your restaurant, and Karen just said this and I applaud her for what she did, is that they shortened their menu during COVID. We did the same thing. We took our menu and knocked down to what our top sellers are. And the Ghost Kitchen, or virtual brand that we've given to people, is 30%. The top 30% of our sellers is what we put into distribution. It's about 12 SKUs. And if you as an operator have, I'm making up a number now, and say you have 50 menu items, we all know the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of your menu is 80% of your sales. Get rid of 10 items and put in a virtual brand, whether it's mine or somebody else's. And what happens is it's the same amount of menu, it's the same amount of work for your people, but you've created a whole other revenue stream. So when operators came to us and said, we can't do this right now, we don't have the labor to even open our own doors, truth be told, you are opening your doors. You are doing it. You are choosing how to spend your labor. We have the old saying, work smarter, not harder. And I think a lot of people haven't gotten to the part of working smarter. There's been incredible smarts over the last 2 years. Unfortunately, it's sort of been trickled down. Some people have great ideas, and by the time it gets down to some other people, it gets diluted as opposed to everyone having the same great idea. But I believe, personally, that we all want more business. Anyone here not want more business? Before I go on with that, right? We all want more business.
We're going to have a whole separate conversation if one of you raises your hand.
I promise you, you can handle more business. The question is, what are you going to do to get that more business, and what are you going to do to handle that business? So when people say to us, we can't take you on right now, there's not a lot I can do. I can't argue with people, right? Okay, we'll check back in, we'll stay there. What can we do to help support you? Have you tried this idea? But it is a nationwide issue.
And just to make sure everyone's level set, because obviously we've been talking about ghost kitchen and virtual kitchens now for years, but is everyone familiar with the WowBow 4 square feet of real estate concept? Do you want to just
It's like a haunted restaurant, right?
So I've drunk half this bottle. Do I look any better? Because you guys look great. No, I'm just kidding. Look, what we do is our product is manufactured for us, and we have national distribution. We work with Dot Foods. Dot Foods is a distributor to all the broadliners. Cisco, US Foods, GFS, PFG, whoever you work with, we can get you product. And all the product is you need to steam it. You need to boil water. If you can boil water, you can serve WowBow and have a second revenue stream coming out of your restaurant. And we tease and say 3 to 4 square feet of product of kitchen space because maybe you need a burner and a kettle and a rice cooker. That's all you need. And I'll tell you, we work with 5 Red Mangoes. You guys know Red Mango, it's an ice cream soft serve. Red Mango is ice cream only. They do absolutely no cooking, and it's generally like 15-year-olds who have never like touched a restaurant, and they are doing Wow Bao. That's how easy it is to be done.
Thank you, sir.
Good plug there, thank you.
You're welcome. Still going to Chicago on Michigan Avenue and eating at the original store is the best place to go. Clay, during the pandemic, you all went through a major transaction. That's a challenge anytime, let alone during a pandemic.
It's a big deal. I think it's a big deal.
No, what he's hoping is that 2 out of the 3 that were on the panel with us last year on this stage walked away. One went public, and he has a major transaction. So if he walks off the stage and it's his turn, I'm their good luck charm.
Yeah.
It adds one additional layer of change and challenge. And obviously, with this sector, a lot of this happens frequently. I mean, look at it. Inspire Brands right now is buying pretty much anything they can get their hands on. So what did that do to impact your just day-to-day world?
Look, we make tacos. I run a restaurant. I'm fighting labor, cost of goods. We own all of our own restaurants, so we're not a franchisee. Open one great restaurant at a time. So it's not easy. I feel for the operators here. I feel it every day. But what it has allowed us to do is to have a longer viewpoint of where we're going to take the company. So it's really easy as an operator, whether you're a general manager, whether you have 1 restaurant, 10 restaurants, or 100 restaurants, to worry about the today. Over the weekend, I had water go out at one of my restaurants, and I have my head of operations call me, hey, FYI, here's what's going on. You've got to separate yourself out and think about the future. Where do you want to be a year from now? Where do you want to be from 5 years from now? I could tell you where I want to be 5 years from now, and you have to have that as a leader of the organization. Whatever that role is, you have to look down the road, and that's what allowed us to continue to move forward. We have several things in place. Some of them might not work, some of them hopefully will work, but you always have to be thinking down the road at your next phase, your next restaurant opening, your next market, whether to expand, whether not to, ghost kitchens, whether to or not. I mean, look, we visited several of those concepts. We decided that wasn't for our brand. It may be right for your brand, it might not be. You've got to decide for your own restaurant concept where you want to take your brand. And I use that term, it's my brand, it's our brand, it's our team members' brand. We call them restaurants, not stores, not units. It's just the mentality that we have, but it allows you to look down the road and to think about it. To your point, yeah, there's people out there that want to help you grow. How does that fit in with your plans?
Let me just piggyback on that. So I recently had a conversation with a friend of mine in the industry, and he was explaining to me that in his organization, he hired all these people, right? I just said how we went in our corporate office from 11 to 26, and everyone he hired, and I say the same thing, everyone I hired, are geniuses. They are very, very smart. That's why I hired them. The thing about smart people is they all have ideas. And you as the leader of your brand you have to pinpoint what are the 3 most important things for your brand, for your business. And then you have to get those troops to rally behind those 3 ideas. Because I sit in plenty of meetings and I'll be talking to the marketing person about doing this, and then supply chain wants to weigh in on that idea. I'm like, get back in your lane, buddy. Like, that is not, you are just gonna take my 10-minute meeting and make it 2 hours long. But you have to get everybody to say, these are the 3 most important things that this business is gonna do. And if everybody gets aligned to those 3 things, the productivity in your business will go so much faster and so much more forward. You could still have great ideas. You could still tell people to bring you the ideas, but you have to tell them that if their ideas don't line up to the 3 main principles, you are gonna get off-roaded nonstop.
No, that's a very, very fair point. We're going to open the floor to questions in a minute. Ty has a microphone, so if anyone has a question, they can just raise their hand. But before we get to that, Karen, so obviously the fast casual segment of the industry has every kind of food you can imagine, from ethnic cuisine to good old-fashioned American hamburgers, tacos, and then there's all the other categories. So whether it's Red Mango, etc. Health food sector, one of the things we all saw was like the biggest trend prior to the pandemic was sustainable packaging. And then everyone went, crap, our brand needs to arrive at the house as close to perfect or as it would be in dining off premise. So forget sustainable packaging. We're going to go back to plastic. And then if we have fries, we're going to try some different things. But it's all that stuff went out the window. For the health food sector, for the I'm going to still be smart and I'm ordering out third-party delivery 5 nights a week and I don't want to gain 100 pounds. Was there a different experience during the pandemic?
So a couple of things. So number one, the brand that I run is vegan, and so it's super interesting because that for our core guests, that sustainability is incredibly important. But we ran into the same challenge as everyone else. We couldn't get packaging, right? We couldn't get what we needed, and so at one point it's a matter of you bring your own bowl in, not or we're going to have to give you something that's not quite as sustainable, right? So we basically would take whatever we can get. We love to work more with the compostable product, and we think that's really, really important. It's interesting too, if I can just veer off subject a little bit, but being a plant-based restaurant, there's a couple of things there. One is there is a perception that it's healthy. It can be healthy, and I try as hard as I can to put healthy items on the menu, but they don't sell. And so you would think that, right? My lowest P-mix is a salad. And what happens is our guests who come in, they'll say, Karen, when I go to those meat restaurants, right, I have to eat my salads. When I'm coming to your restaurant, I'm indulging. And so we end up being more vegan comfort food than anything else. I do get a lot of calls from operators saying I'm going to try to put a plant-based item on my menu, and maybe just a little advice. I worked for Red Robin beforehand, so we did a vegan burger, but we put cheese on it, right? I mean, go figure, right? We really just never quite got it right, and we played with both Beyond, we played with Impossible. My impression is if it's plain, use Impossible. If it's on a flat top, use Beyond. But
and put bacon and cheese on both.
Yeah. But I honestly, I think if you're going to have plant-based, try to figure out why you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be a huge part of your menu, but the reason I brought it up is because you talked about sustainability. It's such an easy sustainability message because obviously, it's a 10x savings from carbon emissions and things like that the minute you put something plant-based on. So it's an easy go-to, again, from a marketing standpoint, if you want to say you're doing something to help the planet.
And Joe, just to your point though, I think a lot of people want to stay true to their brand, and they might have switched from their sustainable packaging to plastic, whatever it may be, but part of that was the world. You couldn't get packaging, right? We were very fortunate. We never had a hiccup with both food and packaging in our distribution, in our supply chain, but that's all we heard from operators. You couldn't get this, you couldn't get that, and as operators, we were forced to make decisions that unfortunately might not reflect the brand correctly. But I think we can all agree on it. If we made those choices, we did our best to get back to what we needed to do when the time was available for us.
No, that's totally fair. You raised your hand here, Ty. Can we get the microphone over? Thank you.
Bring it.
Hello. Okay.
Hi.
So just touching base on what you said, Jeff, about 3 main principles for a company that should kind of be leading you for your brand. So this question is for you, Clay, for Velvet Taco. I want to know what your 3 is.
What are my 3? Sales. Well, it's people, sales, and profit is our main header, and then all of the departments roll up. So every one of our team members has 3 things that they're focused on. So from a marketing standpoint, we've got a digital initiative, we have a brand, and then we've got the third one is catering and sales. So rules of 3, I totally agree with. I can remember those for departments. From a culture standpoint, I'll go back to that. I mean, I second everything that's been said here. At the end of the day, you want people who believe in what you're doing, and you want people that love what they do. I always say this, I just onboarded today, we just hired a payroll and benefits person, and I meet with everyone that joins our team. I have every single one of our GM's phone numbers on my cell phone. We'll see how long I can do that. But when I sit down with them and I say, I want to make sure that you feel comfortable with Velvet Taco, I'm an accountant that's joining Velvet Taco. I work for Velvet Taco, and I'm an accountant. I work for Velvet Taco, and I'm a purchasing person. I'm not a purchasing person that works for Velvet Taco. I always put the brand first, and that's what's going to get you through the tough times. And at the end of the day, it will serve as that north star for you.
You know, that's a very good point. And Jeff, the way that you kind of shoved supply chain back in their lane. So we reduced the number of staff within the association because obviously we're here to serve all of you. And we have 27 staff across 4 offices to service all 23 chapters in the state. So that's literally 1 chapter per person practically. And there's a lot of crossover. There has to be. Nobody wears just one single hat. We have no IT department. I'm the CIO and the help desk at the same time as being the COO. We took the approach of everyone has one major objective. It rolls up to our strategic plan. It rolls up to the things we've taken to the board of directors that are made up of members like you and said, this is what we're going to accomplish in the next year. But then everyone has 2 or 3 secondary objectives that are the ways in which they and what they do support the other members of the team. So Jeff, you go from 11 to what is it now, 23?
Close to 26.
How are you able to do it where everyone's in their own lane and not doing that? Because inherently we have to help each other.
Yeah,
out.
let's be clear. We are extremely scrappy, right? The reason why we've done success or had success is because everybody works together. We have also been, which probably means nothing to Texas, but we have been in office. Basically, the entire team has been in office since August, and a handful of us have been in the office the entire time of COVID. Because it's important that you are together. I'm only hiring people who will come to the office, which is a very small amount of people in Chicago, just so you know that. It is terrible and impossible to hire for an office position. But I will only hire office people because you want the collaboration. It's the conversation that happens in between the Zoom, that happens in between the conference room, in between the meeting. That conversation, that's what drives the business. That's where the thoughts come from. That's where you can help one another. That's how you can get better. So I keep people in their lanes. If I'm talking about, hey, should that sign be, red or purple? I don't need 4 other departments telling me what they think it should be, right? Now, there are definitely conversations where you need everybody to be part of. So it's not very black and white. It's more about the purpose of this meeting is X, and who do I need for that conversation, and then let's move on to Y. And I invite, my door is open, like you come, give me your feedback, we'll revisit it, whatever it may be. But we are 100% completely collaborative, and everybody's got their hands in everything. And you need your aces in places. You need the right people doing the right things.
Yeah, that's actually something we're wrestling with right now as we grow out Velvet Taco is having people in the office supporting restaurants. And we call it a restaurant support office because we support restaurants. I mean, look, if you're in the restaurants, you don't get the luxury of working from home.
That's right.
I know that I sound old school and some of my folks don't necessarily like my approach, but you can't run a restaurant from home. You can't work from home running a shift. And so that's the way I look at it. I totally applaud that. I'm having a challenge with that right now of having people like, well, how many days do I get to work from home? I'm like, none.
I'm the contrarian here. I closed my office last week, but we only have a team of 6. So let me put that in perspective. We're really small, and we just meet at the restaurant. But what we found was the office was like an hour and a half drive in traffic. No one was going anyway. We see each other more now at our downtown Loop location, and so that's working out well for us. But it's different. You have to kind of think about all the where's your office anymore, right? I mean, it's a little bit different, but I'm going to give it a try.
Fair enough. Other questions?
I hope this isn't long-winded, but this isn't. Hi.
There you are.
Hi. So there's been a lot of messaging trends, and there's a lot of different things that you keep hearing about. Like you got to go and try to reach Gen Z. You got to try to go and follow these food trends, and culinary diversity and all of that. So how do you guys really filter through all of that different messaging and figure out what's going to propel your brand forward versus what's just going to be a temporary temporary trend, I guess?
Let me start with that because maybe I'm a little bit old school, but I remember everybody was telling us, you got to have an app, and yes, we have an app. You got to, all these millennials, everything they're going to have is on their phone. So then I started going to like bars. Imagine that, guys. But I'd say like,
I can.
We've seen it. It's
I
fun.
can actually. I've seen
but
that.
the people around, I'm like, okay, like how many like restaurant apps do you have on your phone? There really weren't that many that. Like all of us, how many restaurants are represented here that people are going to carry all that real estate on their phone? Really doesn't work that way necessarily. So some of it, I think, to your point, is a little bit of hype, and you can spend a lot of money chasing some things that you probably don't need to. I guess I always think about what do I need to do first? Have great tasting food. First and foremost, to me, that drives people to the restaurant. But I think what I'm seeing emerge today is this was before the pandemic, when people started cocooning and staying at home and watching Netflix and all of that. You already started to see a structural change in dining habits. We've seen that dining room decline for quite some time. So now it's like, okay, if I want to get them to eat in my restaurant, it's got to be a good experience, right? I'm on the board of a little brand called Kura Sushi. If anybody watched it, their stock was up $18.14 on Friday. But it's an experience, if anybody's been there, there's a few here you've been there, right? But you've got the little revolving sushi bar, and after you order so many plates, you get to drop them in, and your prize drops out. Demon Slayer sold out immediately. But those kind of things are kind of cool, right? So what are you going to do in your restaurant to make it worthwhile to show up and want to stay? So those are the things I'd be focusing on at this point. Great food and a great experience.
Yeah, and to Karen's point, and this is why we do things like the show, guys. At the end of the day, you want the things that are the tools that help you do what you do better. Expand your base. Have customers who are more loyal, who come back, who you're in touch with. He may look like he fell off the back of a realtor's retirement home in Florida because of his shirt, but Zach over there and his company Ovation, they are all about having a platform through which you take the customer you already have and get the right feedback and be able to engage with them in the long term to keep making them a loyal returning member. And he's a friend of all of ours, so we screw with him like this all the time. But at the end of the day, that's the stuff you look at. So all of those things, we've all been on panels within the last few months talking about the tech stack. What's the right amount of technology for you? What are the right things that came up during the pandemic? Because let's face it, everybody was throwing stuff at you throughout the whole pandemic, and you had to think about how do you put that stuff together. And now it's about, all right, well, what stuff is going to stick? What stuff helps you do what you do well?
Go ahead. You go, Clay.
No, Jeff, you're way smarter and older than me. Go ahead.
I appreciate being older. I just wanted to say.
I'll take smarter.
Am I getting better looking? I'm almost done with the bottle. But to your question, I think two things with it. The first is you can't do everything. It's very important you know that you cannot do everything. You have to do what's right for your brand. You have to do what you believe in. And what's very important is you have to explain the why to your team. We have lots of operators around the country that turned on our Ghost Kitchen program. But what happens is if I have an operator who has 15 locations and that operator is not in the stores, we call them stores, I'm sorry, I do like that you call them restaurants, right? That manager working that night might be like, why the hell are we selling Wow Bao? I'm just gonna turn the tablet off. Versus, well, if I turn the tablet on and we do $1,000 in sales today, that's like paying rent, paying managers, keeping people employed, so on and so forth. So whatever you decide to do, and there's plenty of noise out there, I 100% agree with you. Do what's right for your brand, do what you can handle, but make sure that everybody who's gonna be part of that launch understands why it's being done. And be open to failing on it. And if you fail from it, identify why it didn't work, what went wrong with it, and then when you try the next thing, to go ahead and do better with it. I would not suggest, if you fail at it, to keep saying, I believe in this, I'm gonna figure it out. Like, pick a timetable, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then either you're gonna give up or go forward. But now for the young gentleman here in the velvet outfit.
Oh, no. No, I'd stay the course. I agree. Find out what your brand, what's CJ Barbecue all about? What is important about your brand? Stay true, stay strong, I love walking around. I love the amount of brands that people are wearing. I wear a Velvet Taco brand. I'm proud of who I work for. 99.9%. I get great positive feedback when people see me in an airport or something. They go, Velvet Taco. We have an international menu. Our top selling taco is a tikka marsala. It's awesome. It was made by a Pakistani chef. Like, it's real, it's legit. And we always stay true to that core. So find out what works for you. I agree with Jeff. Testing, you always got to try different things. You have to evolve. I'll give you a little stat. Before the pandemic, we're about 34% takeout. During the pandemic, we're about 70% takeout. Now we're at 50%. Like, half of our sales are going out of our door, either through third party, our own app, people walking in. So you have to evolve. You have to always be looking ahead. But yeah, you can't be everything to everyone. You just can't. Like, we do tacos. I'm not going to do bowls. I'm not doing salads. I'm not doing wraps. I do tacos. That's it. Tacos and margaritas.
Just say, don't leave out the margaritas. We worked
Margaritas. Yeah, I didn't know I could have brought a margarita machine. I could have done that.
We have a question from over here. Thank you.
What's the tech stack you're using internally in your restaurants to help with everything you're encountering from everything from labor?
Think about every piece of technology that you
No,
have.
he wants to know what
right?
your tech stack is.
What the tech stack is. I got like 20.
Just internally in your restaurant.
Yeah, internally, our POS system, we're using Toast. We use a company out that helps us analyze everything called RAD. We customize daily sales reports, etc. We just brought accounting in-house. Look, I started, we had 4 restaurants. I worked, the Front Burner is the original founding group that started Velvet Taco. Randy DeWitt and those guys, they did a phenomenal job with the brand. We've just grown as we've continued to evolve. We've added more and more layers on. So we've got a loyalty program with Thanks. We've got our own app that we've created. But you just have to continue to evolve and look at what's next. What's the next step? That's what I would say around tech stack. Toast has been a great partner for us. They've been able to integrate. We're on a legacy POS system. They've been able to adapt. We've got handhelds. We tested a handheld walking around the dining room. We decided not to do that. We felt that experience was different. We tested and tried a drive-through pickup. So you place the order ahead of time. You can drive up. Average time at the window is 26 seconds. You drive through. About half of my restaurants now going forward have a pickup window. Is that a necessity? No, but that tech allowed us to do that. We put in KDS screens in the back. We used to not have that. So the tech is a have to, but you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. I've put tech in place that it just sat there, and I've got a back of the house system right now that I don't think I'm maximizing. I'd love to get theoretical food cost. If you want to get real technical, we've got a partner that I know it's there. We just haven't been able to implement it. So my advice on tech is put in what you can maximize and use. It absolutely can help build your business.
And the bottom line translation is your tech should always work for you, not you're doing a ton of extra work because of the tech you chose. And that's got to be your barometer of, did you pick the right thing? Did you pick the way the things that talk to each other the right way?
I was just going to say, I agree with that. I think about like at home, and if I'm going to wash clothes, I've kind of got my husband trained to do most of it now, but he uses one cycle, the normal cycle in the washing machine. But when you buy a tech platform, you can buy so many modules that you'll never use. So I always start with that theory, what am I going to use, and only buy what I need? I can add on things because it can get super expensive, and just getting all these platforms to talk to one another. We use Brink technology. Olo's our source of truth on for our menu, and then we use Yext, and we use Computer See to it. They're all decent if you use them, right? And you maximize them. But
Yeah, they just have to work for you. I agree.
They're all going to give you a headache.
yeah,
Just know that. It's just how big of a headache do you want?
but you need them. It
You
really does
absolutely
help.
do. And it is the joy of technology is to have those moments of frustration. So getting back to our primary topic, the other half was what's next? What's going to stay? Where is fast casual in the next 5-10 years? And so with the remaining minutes that we have, I would like just to have each one of our panelists who, first of all, can we have a quick round of applause for them?
Yeah, real loud. Come on. Woo!
I always appreciate
Everybody missed out. You guys in the booths.
I always appreciate when our family friends come down from Chicago, and now that I live here full time, and well, then we got Clay with us too.
Texas forever.
There we go. So what does, for each of you, this is the question, what does fast casual look like in 5 years, in 10 years, or even tomorrow? Because at the end of the day, this is a bellwether sector of our industry. New technologies are tested there, new types of cuisine are tested there, new types of service are tested there. So we always want to watch and see what's happening there, because it's going to affect everything else. So, ladies first.
I'll give it a shot. This is
Is that
funny
okay
because
with you, Clay? Is that okay that she goes first?
Vegan.
Yeah, are you sure, Clay?
Is that okay that she goes first?
Yeah, all right. Jackie.
oh, you guys crack me up. No, so first of all, I mean, I'm just watching some of the basic changes, and I think we've talked about technology, and we've really talked about the different channels in our business. And look, we went from 16% takeout to over 100% for over a year, with dining rooms being forced to be closed everywhere. And now I'm about 34% dining rooms. So the thing I'm thinking about now is, first of all, just my basic footprint. What does that look like? And I was a judge with Dr. Knight, Emily, who's standing out there, but we judged the National Pro Start for a long time, and I was always the management judge. And it would be so interesting to see how people drew restaurants. And you would have like this huge kitchen and about 20 seats, and that's just not the way things worked anymore. Oh my God, now it's almost like that, right? Because you really wanted to maximize the seating. So I'm really watching the platform, your footprint of your restaurants. How much more space do we have to dedicate to the kitchen, to areas for just the carry-out platforms right now is
Sure.
a lot different. The technology, how much is a guest willing to do themselves and feel good about it and still leave our team members a tip? Another thing I'm looking at is this gave us an opportunity to reset the business, and where I think the front of the house maximized a lot of the tips for a long time, this gave us an opportunity to reset the business and make sure that we're fairly taking care of our back of the house cooks too. And I think for the restaurants that have done that, we've seen much better retention in the back of the house. But good food, great ingredients, and great service, I don't think that part ever changes.
Fair enough. Jeff?
I'm hearing over here on my shoulder that we're being played off, so I'll go really quick. I just think that food is what we celebrate around and what we commiserate around, and food is very important to the lifestyle of us as humans, as we are social people. So the dining rooms are not going to go away. I do agree the dining rooms are getting smaller. I have a 23-year-old and I have a 12-year-old, and I cannot get them off of their apps. And the way they dine is different than how I dined. Whereas I want to go out and be social, they want to be home and not be interrupted. So delivery and carry out will continue to grow, but the important thing is that you stay flexible and find ways to keep growing and evolving and innovating, because that is what has made our industry so fantastic.
Okay, last word.
Last word. Wow, a lot of pressure. I think on fast casual, you're going to see a blurring of lines between limited service and fast casual, but with a emphasis on high quality food. I think the ability to get fast casual and higher quality products and food in the hands of guests seamlessly, quickly, whether it's through apps, smaller kitchen space, whatever it is, you'll see that more and more. So an integration, the ability to get people food. I mean, how many of us would pay an extra $5 to get food delivered to wherever you are? I know my daughter does the same. She ordered a milkshake from Chick-fil-A the other day for $10. I'm going like, are you kidding me? Like, come on. So I think you'll see more and more of that as we progress down with fast casual.
Perfect. Again, thank you three for being here. I invite all of you to stay where you are. We're actually doing a quick turnaround on this session. The other one is going to start right now. Karen is going to hang around. We have Dr. Emily Williams-Knight, our president and CEO, coming up to the stage, and three other of our female leaders from local chapters in the state to talk about the 2/3 rule, women in restaurants. So thank you all again for being on the stage. Thank you all for being in the audience.